You've entered the archives of the forgotten. I'm Dr. Haunted. Tonight I'll show you what was never meant to be seen. Just remember, once you know the truth, you can't unsee it. Urban exploration has been my passion for 8 years. I've crawled through abandoned factories, decaying mansions, and forgotten bunkers across 3 continents. My YouTube channel, Off Limits Explorer, has over 300,000 subscribers who tune in for my weekly ventures into places time forgot. Last October, I received an email from a viewer about Westbrook Psychiatric Hospital, a massive complex abandoned in 1987 after a series of patient abuse scandals. Most of the buildings had been thoroughly documented by other explorers, but my correspondent claimed to know about a sealed wing that didn't appear on any floor plans. The administration building has a basement access point, the email read. Behind the boiler room, there's a bricked-up doorway. What's behind it was never meant to be found. I'd explored Westbrook twice before, but never noticed this. The prospect of discovering something new in such a well-known location was irresistible. I arrived at dusk, slipping through the familiar broken fence. The administration building stood 3 stories tall, windows like empty eye sockets watching my approach. Inside, decades of decay greeted me. Peeling paint, collapsed ceiling tiles, rusted filing cabinets, spilling forgotten paperwork. The basement access was where my informant said it would be. The boiler room, a cavernous space filled with massive rusted equipment, smelled of mildew and corroded metal. At the back wall, partially hidden behind an ancient boiler, I found it. A doorway sealed with newer bricks than the surrounding walls. My crowbar made quick work of the brittle mortar. As the bricks fell away, stale air rushed out, carrying a scent I couldn't identify. Medicinal, but with something underneath, like spoiled meat. Beyond the doorway stretched a narrow corridor, its walls lined with small metal doors resembling safe deposit boxes. Each bore a number and a small viewing slot. Patient storage for personal items, perhaps? My flashlight beam revealed a larger door at the corridor's end. A sign read "Special Procedures." The door was unlocked. The room beyond defied explanation. Circle patterns were etched into the concrete floor, surrounding a central metal table fitted with restraints. The walls held cabinets filled with jars containing objects suspended in yellowish fluid. Some appeared to be organic tissue, others unidentifiable. A filing cabinet in the corner contained patient records, but not medical histories. Each folder detailed extraction procedures with before and after photographs that turned my stomach. The patient's expressions in the after photos haunted me. Blank stares, yet somehow reflecting profound relief. One folder was marked incomplete. Inside was a Polaroid of a man strapped to the central table mid-procedure. The date stamp showed October 17th, 1987, the day before the hospital's sudden closure. A sound behind me, metal scraping against metal. I turned to find the small numbered doors in the corridor slowly opening, one by one. From each, thin wisps of grey matter emerged, not smoke, not vapor, but something in between. They coalesced in the corridor, forming vaguely human shapes. My camera captured what my mind refused to process. Figures composed of mist and shadow moving with deliberate purpose toward the procedure room. Toward me. I ran, dropping my crowbar. Behind me a chorus of whispers rose, incomplete, unfinished, waiting so long. I made it to the bricked doorway when something cold gripped my ankle. Looking down, I saw nothing visible holding me, yet I couldn't move. The whispers grew louder. Perfect vessel, strong, complete us. With desperate strength, I broke free and scrambled through the opening. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. The footage from my camera showed only static when I reviewed it, except for one frame. In it, dozens of faces pressed against what appeared to be the inside of the small doors, mouths open in silent screams. 3 explorers have contacted me since, asking about the sealed wing. I warned them away. 2 went anyway. They haven't posted new videos since, but sometimes late at night I receive notifications from their accounts. Live streams broadcasting nothing but static and distant whispers about completion. The circle patterns from that room now appear in my dreams, and sometimes I catch my reflection moving independently in mirrors, its eyes asking a question I refuse to answer. The London Underground has 270 stations officially, but urban explorer forums have long whispered of ghost stations, abandoned platforms sealed off from the public, frozen in time. My exploration partner Marcus and I had documented most of these known abandoned stations for our blog. Then we received a tip about one that wasn't on any official record, Blackwater Station, allegedly constructed in 1933 but never opened. The entrance is hidden in the maintenance tunnels between Charing Cross and Embankment, our source claimed. Transport for London denies it exists. Ask yourself why. Getting into the maintenance tunnels required careful timing and high visibility vests that made us look like workers. Once inside, we followed our informant's detailed directions, counting service doors until we reached a section where the tunnel architecture subtly changed. Older brickwork, different lighting fixtures. There, Marcus whispered, pointing to a rusted metal door with no markings. It was unlocked. Beyond was a narrow staircase descending deeper than seemed possible. The air grew colder with each step. After what felt like 5 floors down, we emerged onto a platform that perfectly matched 1930s London Underground design. Tiled walls, vintage signage, wooden benches. Except everything was pristine. No dust, no decay. The station looked ready to welcome passengers despite supposedly being abandoned for 90 years. This can't be right, Marcus said, running his hand along a spotless bench. Someone's maintaining this place. The station name, Blackwater, was emblazoned on the wall tiles in the classic underground font. Below it, smaller text read, "Change here for the lower line." Lower line? I frowned. That's not any tube line I've heard of. We found a station map that showed Blackwater as part of a small network of stations, 5 in total, forming a loop beneath central London. None of these stations existed on official maps. As we photographed everything, a distant rumble grew steadily louder. Marcus looked at me, eyes wide. That sounds like a train, I finished. But that's impossible. The tunnel lights flickered on, illuminating curved walls heading into darkness. The rumbling intensified. Wind rushed from the tunnel, carrying a scent of ozone and something else, something organic and unpleasant. "We should go," Marcus said, backing toward the stairs. But curiosity kept me rooted. An actual ghost train? This would make our blog legendary. The train that emerged from the tunnel wasn't like any London Underground vehicle I'd ever seen. Its design was the 1930s, but the colour was wrong. Deep black rather than the traditional red. The windows were tinted so dark they appeared opaque. It glided to a silent stop, despite the previous rumbling. The doors slid open with a hiss. Inside was empty, no passengers, no driver, just rows of pristine seats and advertisements from the 1930s promoting destinations I'd never heard of. "Let's check it out," I said, stepping forward. Marcus grabbed my arm. "Don't. Something's wrong." As if in response, the station announcer crackled to life. A crisp female voice with a perfect 1930s BBC accent. "This is a lower line service to Childersmere, Leach Street, Hollowgate and Mortis End. Please mind the gap between the platform and the train. Final service of the night." A cold hand touched my shoulder from behind. I turned to find the platform suddenly occupied by dozens of people dressed in 1930s clothing. Their faces were pale, eyes hollow. They moved with synchronized precision toward the train. "We need to leave now," Marcus whispered. As we backed toward the stairs, one of the figures, an elderly man in a station master's uniform, noticed us. His eyes widened in recognition. "You don't belong here," he said, voice echoing strangely. "Not yet scheduled, not on the manifest." The crowd turned as one, their hollow gazes fixing on us. We ran, taking the stairs 3 at a time, the sound of footsteps following close behind. We didn't stop until we reached the bustle of Charing Cross station. 3 days later, Marcus disappeared. His roommate said he'd left in the middle of the night, taking nothing but his camera. The last text message on his phone read, "Going back to check one more thing. Heard the announcement wrong. Not lower line, lower life. Back in an hour." Transport for London denies any knowledge of Blackwater Station. Our photos, hundreds of them, show nothing but maintenance tunnels and darkness. But sometimes, late at night, on the Charing Cross platform, I hear that announcer's voice bleeding through the regular station announcements. Next service to Childersmere. Now arriving. I've changed my commute. I don't take the underground anymore. Detroit has no shortage of abandoned factories, skeletons of America's industrial past left to rot in the Rust Belt. I've documented dozens for my urban exploration photography series, American Decay. Packard Automotive Plant, Fisher Body Plant 21, Michigan Central Station. All impressive ruins with their own stories, but none compared to what I found beneath the Northville manufacturing complex. Northville wasn't on many explorers' radars, a relatively small textile factory that closed in 1972. 3 floors of crumbling machinery and collapsed roofs. Nothing special. But a comment on my website caught my attention. "Did you check the sub-basement level? The one with the red door? They made more than just clothing there." I'd explored Northville thoroughly and found no basement, let alone a sub-basement. Intrigued, I returned the following weekend. This time I examined the factory floor methodically. In the northeast corner, beneath fallen ceiling panels and decades of debris, I discovered a service elevator shaft I'd somehow missed before. The elevator car was long gone, but maintenance rungs led downward. 20 feet down, I found the basement, storage rooms and a boiler room, exactly what you'd expect. Nothing unusual except for a utilitarian metal door painted red, partially hidden behind shelving units. The door was locked but yielded to my pry bar. Beyond lay a concrete staircase continuing downward. The air grew noticeably cooler as I descended. The sub-basement was immense, far larger than the factory's footprint should have allowed. Rows of workstations filled the space, each with strange equipment I couldn't identify. Not textile machinery, more like laboratory setups. Glass vessels connected by copper tubes, pressure gauges, and what looked like early computer terminals. Against the far wall stood large metal tanks, each 7 feet tall, with glass viewing ports. Inside one, I could make out what appeared to be a humanoid shape suspended in cloudy liquid. I approached cautiously, camera ready. The viewing port was glazed with mineral deposits, but as I wiped it clear, I jumped back in shock. A face pressed against the glass, eyes closed, features human but subtly wrong. The proportions were off, eye sockets too large, jaw too angular. More disturbing were the modifications, mechanical components embedded in the flesh, metal ports at the temples and neck. My flash photography revealed 5 more tanks, all occupied by similar figures. On a nearby desk, I found logbooks dating from 1952 to 1972, detailing integration procedures and rejection rates. The clinical language couldn't disguise the horror. Human subjects used for some kind of mechanical augmentation experiments. The final entry, dated March 17, 1972. Project terminated by committee decision. All assets to be neutralized and sealed. Special containment protocols in effect. As I photographed the logbook, the lights, which shouldn't have had power, flickered on. A low humming filled the room as the tanks began bubbling. fluid circulating through long dormant systems. One by one, the eyes of the tank occupants open, their gazes fixed on me. A mechanical voice crackled over ancient speakers. Unauthorized presence detected. Integration candidate identified. Resuming protocol. The tanks began to drain. One of the figures moved its arm, the first time in 50 years. I ran for the stairs, the humming growing louder behind me. Halfway up, I heard the wet sound of suction releasing as tank hatches opened. I barely made it to the main floor, slamming the red door behind me and wedging it shut with a metal pipe. Through the door came sounds I still hear in nightmares. Mechanical whirring mixed with something organic and visceral. Footsteps learning to walk again. I escaped the factory and immediately contacted a journalist friend with government connections. 3 days later, the Northville factory mysteriously burned to the ground. Official cause, faulty wiring. My photographs of the sub-basement show nothing but empty rooms, no tanks, no equipment. The logbooks appear as blank pages. But I know what I saw. Last week I received an envelope containing a single page from those logbooks and a note. Project not terminated, merely relocated. Your integration profile has been added to our database. I've abandoned urban exploration, but sometimes my reflection moves a fraction of a second too slowly, and I notice small scars I don't remember getting, perfectly circular, exactly where those tank occupants had their mechanical ports. The Cold War spawned hundreds of bunkers across America, fallout shelters meant to house government officials if nuclear war erupted. Most are documented, some repurposed, others abandoned. But the bunker we found in the forests of Northern Virginia wasn't on any official record. Our urban exploration group, myself, Danny and Chris, specialized in military installations. A retired Forest Service ranger had tipped us off about strange concrete structures deep in the George Washington National Forest, installed in the early 1960s and abandoned after just 2 years. Government types came and went in the middle of the night, he told us. Then one day they all left, sealed everything up and posted restricted area signs that eventually rotted away. Never saw anyone official out there again. It took 3 days of hiking to locate the entrance, a concrete blockhouse cleverly disguised to blend with the surrounding rock formations. The heavy steel door was secured with a rusted padlock that broke easily under Chris's bolt cutters. Inside, a service elevator waited. According to the panel, it descended 12 levels. "This is way bigger than a standard emergency bunker," Danny said, examining schematics posted on the wall. "Look at these dimensions." The bunker had been designed to house over 200 people for at least 5 years, complete with hydroponics facilities, medical units, and communication centers. With flashlights ready, we took the elevator down to level 12, the deepest point. The backup generators had long since failed, leaving us in complete darkness broken only by our lights. The air was stale but breathable. Level 12 was labelled Research Division. Unlike the residential and support levels above, this floor featured laboratory spaces. In one room, behind glass observation windows, we found hospital beds with restraint systems. Another contained cages of various sizes. A third held equipment I recognized from my time as a medical technician, EEG machines, but modified in ways I didn't understand. What were they researching down here? Chris wondered aloud, examining file cabinets emptied long ago. In the central laboratory, we found our answer. A circular chamber dominated the space, its walls covered in what appeared to be lead shielding. Inside the chamber was a single chair surrounded by equipment, all focused on one point, the heads of whoever would sit there. On a desk outside the chamber, one folder remained, overlooked during the evacuation. Its cover read, Project Deep View, Phase 2 Results. The documents inside detailed experiments using enhanced interrogation, combined with psychotropic compounds and electromagnetic stimulation, to develop develop what they called remote viewing capabilities. The final pages recorded increasing success, subjects accurately describing locations thousands of miles away, then moving beyond geographical viewing to what the researchers termed temporal displacement. The last entry was abrupt. Subject 23 achieved breakthrough. Target timeframe successfully reached. Subject began describing events from September 17, 2030. Information relayed for 17 minutes before psychological break. Subject then began repeating same phrase until expiration. They've seen us looking. Now they're looking back. Project terminated by executive order. Facility to be decommissioned immediately. Chris laughed nervously. Well, that's creepy, but obviously bull... He was interrupted by the elevator activating above us. We'd wedged it open at our level, so someone had called it from above. "Did you guys touch the call button?" Danny whispered. We hadn't. We gathered our gear quickly, planning to take the emergency stairs. Before leaving, I snapped photos of the chamber. In the last photo, reviewing it later, I would notice what we missed in person. The chair in the chamber had been recently used. Dust outlines showed where someone had sat. The restraints recently opened. As we reached the stairwell, the lights throughout the facility suddenly activated. A calmly professional female voice echoed through the speakers. Remote viewing target acquired. Temporal coordinates confirmed. September 17th, 2030 has acknowledged the intrusion and dispatched response. Please remain still for integration. We ran up 12 flights of stairs in complete darkness, the voice following us through each level. At the surface, we sealed the bunker door behind us and didn't stop running until we reached our campsite. 2 days later, safely back in civilization, we discovered all our photos of level 12 were corrupted, except one. The chamber image remained intact, but altered. The empty chair now contained a figure, blurred and indistinct, but turning its head toward the camera. I've tried researching Project Deep View through FOIA requests. Each has been denied with the same response. No such project exists within historical records. Last week, all three of us received identical envelopes containing security badges for a facility we've never heard of. The issue date on each badge: September 17th, 2030. That concludes tonight's case. But the shadows don't sleep. I'm Dr. Haunted. Until next time, keep your doors locked, your lights low, and your nightmares closer.